Alright. Okay.
What chat text what money Google Hangout document
I'm looking at a black screen.
that is not a problem here.
That's not a problem, right?
That is not
Black screen එකක් තින්නේ නැහැ නේ. අරක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. Okay, that's perfect. Okay. Hi, Mani. Since I hope you can hear us now, can you confirm?
Check.
Macam
Check.
Mani, we couldn't hear you. Google Hangout එක අපි කියන කහනවාද? That's the whole purpose. They need to hear what I'm saying through Google Hangout.
Yeah.
LBR LBO CEO Forum. Platinum sponsor. The happiness of coverage. The happiness of connectivity. The happiness of adventure. The happiness of being free. The happiness of endless joy. For unlimited happiness, Mobitel, we care, always. Silver sponsor.
Mani, can you confirm that? Can you hear me? Can you speak? මචං මේක ඔඩියෝ එක එන්නේ නැහැ. වානි කතා කරනවා.
නෑ මචං දෙකම දෙන ලක්ෂ්මන
Yeah, Mani, can you say something again?
Yes, I can hear you, but can you hear me?
All right, okay, superb. We can hear you. Lakshman, can you also hear me? Could you please confirm?
I'm hearing on.
Right. Okay, Lakshman. That's super.
I think I'm
Great.
hearing on. Hearing on Google Hangout.
Right. Sure. That's great.
Yes, this is Mani. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Sure. We can hear
I
you.
can hear Mani.
Right. So.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. We can hear you. So. Yeah, gentlemen, we are going to start. I'm going to hand over the microphone to Farah.
Adisha, I'm going to switch off speaker on the WebEx. I will listen to Google Hangout.
Yeah, that's fine.
And start, and I'll use the microphone of WebEx to deliver.
Sure.
Adisha, I'm going to switch off speaker on the WebEx. I will listen to Google Hangout.
Yeah, that's fine.
And start, and I'll use the microphone of WebEx to deliver.
Sure.
Recently, deceased entrepreneur was referred to as the last stop of the man. An eulogy in a leading Sunday newspaper. He was praised for his business acumen and for creating a business empire.
Check. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're extremely sorry for the delay. Can we please be seated to start the proceedings? I would like to warmly welcome all of you all to our 56th LBO LBR CEO Forum. Thank you for being so patient and bearing with us while we fixed all our technical difficulties. I would like to invite our speakers now on stage. Peter, Lakmini, would you mind kindly coming to the stage, please? Thank you. And now let's listen to a message from our sponsors.
LBR LBO CEO Forum. Platinum sponsor.
The happiness of coverage. The happiness of connectivity. The happiness of adventure. The happiness of being free. The happiness of endless joy. For unlimited happiness, Mobitel, we care, always.
Silver sponsor.
Never stop persevering. No matter what happens in life, we believe in never giving up on what's important to you.
AIA Insurance, the real life company. Media agency partner, Media Factory Group of Companies. print partner,
Thank you. You all must be wondering where Lakshman is. So let me start off by saying today's proceedings are a bit different as we are deploying technology to break down the barrier of physical distance. So now I would like to inform all of you that Lakshman will be joining us from Malaysia, and I would like him to now give his opening remarks. Lakshman, can you hear us? Lakshman, can you hear us? Do we have Lakshman online?
Hi.
Hi, Lakshman.
Hello.
Yes, Lakshman, we can hear you.
Can I speak?
Yes, Lakshman, go ahead.
Hi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to join you from Malaysia to the 56th edition of LBR LBO CEO Forum. As my colleague Farah said, we are thankful to Mobitel. Mobitel are the guys actually who asked us to get onto web. Yes, I can hear you. And do you hear me?
Yes, Lakshman.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, carry on.
Do you hear me? Hello, I'm speaking. Do you hear me?
Yes, Lakshman, carry on. We hear you.
Okay, can I start again? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 56th edition of LBR LBO CEO Forum. Yes, I do hear you. Can you hear me? This sounds good. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Lakshman, we hear you. Carry on.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, warm welcome to 56th edition of LBR LBO CEO Forum. Extremely sorry for the technical glitches we are having. Obviously, when you do something for the first time, sometimes these things do happen. But what is most important thing is today we are joining from 3 different countries to conduct LBR LBO CEO Forum. Manik Kulasurya, one of our panelists, is sitting in California, and I'm in Malaysia. And you guys are, and you guys are at Oak Room. Warm welcome once again. Let me get on with the opening remark. Recently, deceased entrepreneur was referred to as the last of the Mohican. Yeah, last of, in an eulogy in a leading Sunday newspaper. He was He was praised for his business acumen and for creating business empire during the dark ages of the Sri Lankan economy, that is 1970 to 1974. The eulogy stated that while he received political patronage, he also incorporated values, disciplines,
Lakshman, are you there?
The newspaper went on to say that as Sri Lanka marks the death of another hardworking self-made entrepreneur, it is also time to celebrate and reflect on The newspaper went on to say that as Sri Lanka marks the death of another hard-working self-made entrepreneur, it is also time to celebrate and reflect on an era of hard-working entrepreneurs who started as street salesmen and pavement hawkers. It was sheer courage, guts, and homemade business acumen that led to their success. Lessons for today's generation of MBA entrepreneurs, the eulogy further stated. What the eulogy implied was that the present-day educated class of entrepreneurs does not have courage, guts, and of course the so-called homemade business acumen, which the writer believes is essential for success. Ladies and gentlemen, I disagree. Some of the rubber barrels of the 1970s had monopolies created for them by the government. They earned licenses to import by making campaign contributions or bearing the expenses of various nefarious activities of politics. The era was beginning of the use scene, political patronage and exploitative practices to build big businesses and amass wealth, of course at the expense of consumer welfare and the freedom of choice. Today's tech entrepreneurs and other educated entrepreneurs may not have rags to riches stories to tell, but they have a different story to tell, a story more relevant to today's context. It is no easy task to conceive, design, develop and launch a tech company and then sustain its growth momentum, particularly in the face of fast-changing industry landscape and consumer expectations and disruptive business models. Being a tech entrepreneur demands not just technological expertise, business acumen and risk appetite. It demands the courage to move out of comfort zone and face uncertainty. I'm not sure what homemade business acumen is. If one can learn from San Jose, Bangalore and Singapore and successfully compete in the world economy, I don't see anything wrong with that. The four people who are joining us today at today's 56th edition of LBR LBO CEO Forum and scores of others who belong to the new generation of educated Sri Lankan entrepreneurs. There are stories to tell about how to build new business models and world-class products and put Sri Lanka on the technology map. They create greater value per employee and competing with the world's best technology companies in the global marketplace. Not having started their business careers by peddling goods on pavement does not make them less entrepreneurial, or their intentions less honorable, or their contribution to the economy less valuable. Most tech entrepreneurs left the comfort zone of their corporate world and embarked on their own journey. The risk they took is multifaceted: reputational risk, professional risk, livelihood risk, financial risk, market risk, and many others. They had more to lose than someone who built a business from the street, or those who encashed political IOUs during the period of Mrs. Bandaranaike's miserable socialist experiment with Sri Lankan economy and people. The 56th edition of LBR LBO CEO Forum is a tribute to Sri Lankan tech entrepreneurs. We invited 4 of them, because we don't have space to invite all of them, leading tech entrepreneurs to share their own challenges in starting and growing their businesses, the best and worst decisions made by them, while building their businesses, and the experiences in raising capital, building teams, creating enabling cultures, sustaining entrepreneurship, and their views on scaling up businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, it is great to have 4 great technology entrepreneurs with us today. Mana, Lakmini, Chaminda, and of course Mani, who is joining us from United States. This is a tribute to a new generation of entrepreneurs who are putting the Sri Lanka on the world map, who are creating great organizations, and who are creating new business models, and who are creating wonderful opportunities for the entrepreneurs to come. So it's a great pleasure to have the 56th edition of LBR with these 4 top entrepreneurs. I'll stop here, and I wish you a very happy evening, and please enjoy the 56th edition of LBR LBO CEO Forum. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Lakshman. And now I would like to hand over the session to Peter.
Thank you, Farah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to you all to the 56th session of the LBR LBO CEO Forum. Today, as you know, the topic is a very interesting one. It is about how you bet your life, make waves, and stay ahead. As you all know, I'm going to keep my introduction extremely short in view of Lakshman's rather elaborate presentation. In the recent years, we have all heard a lot about, we've seen a rather significant shift in attitudes and, shall I say, attention to this word entrepreneurship. And we see this a lot, this is reflected, in my view, in the proliferation of startups that you are beginning to see all over the world and also now in Sri Lanka. And this word startup has become almost the new buzzword for global entrepreneurship. But yet, a recent Harvard Review study says 75% of all startups fail. So why do people still pursue this dream? Is it an elusive one? Or is it something that we can make something out of? And to talk on this subject, we have 4 very interesting people, as Lakshman said. Mano to my right, Lakmini, Chaminda, and joining us from the US is Mani. And we would like to hear from them all, very briefly as a way of introduction, as to how they set about setting up these companies, their triumphs and tribulations, their successes and failures, their highs and lows. So without any further ado, may we start off the session with you, Lakmini, giving us your thoughts and telling us your story, so to speak, of your startup, Iron One.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you for inviting me for this event. I'm honored. As Peter mentioned, I'll keep it brief, little introduction. As you know, I'm from Iron One Technologies. I'm the CEO of Iron One Technologies. It's currently, actually, it's a grown company. If I just briefly walk through a little bit of history, Iron One is not my first company. I started out with another IT company. Probably I was about 29 at that time, and I stepped out onto that at a time that I was doing fairly well in industry, and things were going really well at that time too, around the early 2000s, and it was a challenging decision. It was like a T-junction really. Both avenues looked very promising. If I can just say what point I made that decision, because it was always in my mind. I think it's in our genes or something like that. If you want to, take risks of this nature, it's something probably we know from a young age that we probably want to start up something. It actually happened when I was working for a large telco and in IT. I had quite a lot of experience in the delivery side of things. I was pretty confident in that. no marketing experience whatsoever. I actually didn't even know the importance of it at that time. And I think a lot of us from IT background, I think we have this perception that if a product is really good, it will sell. And that's really where I was. And it actually sparked, it was a dot-com era. I traveled to the USA. I saw for myself the kind of potential out there. I mean, school kids were out starting up. Funding was like amazing. And I had to do it. I had to take that choice. So I did it. And as you all know, the dot-com era basically had a bust. I was affected. It didn't stop me, because by then I was, the thrill of doing something on our own. The buzz was already there. There was no way back. So we struggled on. It was tough to begin with. As you know, if you have staff and your market collapses, basically you have to be fair, you have to be honest, and you can survive. So I think perseverance really is what takes us. And I think several years down the line, Iron One, it's at a growth phase. So I'll step back and give it back to Peter so that we can, okay, thank you, Peter.
Sure, thanks, Lakmini. Shall we have Mani go next? Is that okay? Mani, may I invite you to share your thoughts or your story about LeapSet or any other ventures that you may have started? What made you give up a fairly promising career with Yahoo and so on and so forth? So, ladies and gentlemen, may we wait for a moment till Mani joins us. Mani, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Peter. I hope you guys can hear me okay. So listening to Lakshmi, I was just thinking in my own head the similarities in what she just mentioned and my own thought process. The two things really stuck close to home in what she just spoke about. The first is. Oh, sorry, I'm getting some echo.
We can hear you well enough.
The first thing that she mentioned, which is completely true to me, and I think many entrepreneurs who I work with closely here in Silicon Valley, is that there's something in the DNA of the entrepreneur that helps them, make the decision to do this. It's a little bit addictive because there really isn't any way going back. Being an entrepreneur, running a startup is no easy task. It is like riding a roller coaster ride. There are extreme heights and extreme lows. But somehow the thrill of the journey is something that is difficult to give up. The second piece that struck close to home again is this challenge of doing something so different. And in many cases, most people getting into this business of starting a company really don't know exactly what's going to happen to them next, and that's true for me as well. But you're walking into some place with no real plan other than what you're going to do next day, the next week. There really isn't no quarterly, annual planning that really happens in the early stages of a startup. You have to be very comfortable with that situation. If you have the DNA and if you have the comfort level to do that, it's actually a fairly easy decision to become a startup entrepreneur. In my case, also, this was the second time with LeapSet that I ventured into becoming an entrepreneur, and I did leave Yahoo to do that. There's something to be said. I think we can get into a little bit more later on in the discussion about the environment that you're in. So one of the things that makes Silicon Valley is that the environment is so supportive of new entrepreneurs and of startups that I think my journey or the beginning of the journey was just a little bit easier than if I were trying to do exactly what I'm doing right now, but if I was still back in Sri Lanka or pretty much anywhere else in the world, because how well failure is embraced in the environment in Silicon Valley. But other than that, it's on the one hand a difficult decision. On the other hand, it's a very easy decision if you have the right DNA for it.
Thank you, Mani. That was brief and interesting, and we will obviously have more questions from you, from myself, and from the audience. Thank you very much. Chaminda, would you like to tell us your story about how you came about to start Idea Hub, and a little bit about your company and some of the challenges we spoke about?
Good evening, everybody. I started as a software engineer, so you're looking at a what is called as a techie in the industry, so who sits down and codes till late night. So after uni, I joined Millennium IT, which is part of London Stock Exchange. So I was there for 3 years, then moved on to again technical to Interblocks. Thereafter, I want to have a balance and a change in career in terms of technology and management. So thereafter, I spent 4 years at Dialog as a CIO, which was the peak in terms of my career. The teams, the company, a company that walks the talk, a great boss to work for. And thereafter, I joined Interblocks again as COO. And in terms of the whole panel, I think I'm the infant in terms of an entrepreneur. So my journey is about 3 years old, which we'll talk more intensively later on. But I think in terms of my delay to quench my thirst in terms of entrepreneurship, because each of the companies I work for are one of the best companies to work for in Sri Lanka, and each of those companies given me the freedom to create and do innovative things. And some of the things that we have created is used in banks, telcos, mobile money, loyalty, all these platforms we develop. It's still in usage, so things to be proud of. But however, in terms of leaving Dialog was very difficult because it was irrational and crazy to do it. The motivation being, throughout I had this idea of creating an incubator. So forming the company was in terms of a vehicle to do that. An incubator where you incubate different ideas and you take it to market and you grow it. And if you can't grow it, you throw it away or you remold it to a different product. And in terms of again creating a private research lab. So these are the kind of motivations for me to start 3 years back. And currently we are on the 4th product. The first product being a failure. The second product being break even. I think I've been getting used to it now. And currently we are on the 3rd and 4th products. We just went live with the latest product to protect your loved ones, where you can tag beacons to pets and kids and vehicles to track your world, called Sniffy. And currently we are doing a product catalog with mobile payments in it. So that's the journey so far. Thanks.
Thank you, Chaminda. Manu, before I turn it over to you, Lakmini said she was not a marketer. But as long as I remember, you are what I would describe, without meaning to flatter you, as the quintessential marketeer. And I remember your terrific success in your early days in IT with Siemens next door, where you used to take up all the banks were literally under your belt, so to speak. Anyway, tell me, from that journey of being extremely successful with large multinationals, how on earth did you come about to start 99X Technologies?
Thank you, Peter. It's very nice to be here. So, like Peter said, I'll just give you an overview of my story. In mid-85, I joined a company called Nixdorf Computers, that was known. And I have my second customer seated here, Mr. Kulatunga Rajapaksa from DSI. So, so like all of us, it was fantastic times in Sri Lanka because we were the first pioneers of first few companies, had great success. So after 10 years, I migrated to Australia and returned back in 2000 and then worked in Australia, a good job, everything was going, but I wanted to come back because of the lifestyle, and I believed that Sri Lanka will take off. But there is one thing I wanted to do was that I wanted to have a Western income, but living in Sri Lanka, to have a Sri Lankan lifestyle. Because once you go to the West, you have access to good capital, you have a successful career. So for me, that was the most important part of my life, because or philosophy, to earn in dollars, spend in rupees. And then I saw this opportunity to drive to be an entrepreneur. And the only way you could do that at that time was to be on your own, right? And I started my venture when I came back. It was 1.5 years, and it was a failure. It was really a failure, and it was this thing because you bring your savings and you think you can sustain the fail. So then I had to go back to work because I needed to support to bring the bacon home. And then, but I was looking always around for opportunity. And then in 2004, there was this ailing company, and I got into controlling interest, and thereafter built what is today 99X technology. So that's my story.
Okay, so Manu, let me start off with you. So what did it take? I mean, we understand that you said that you had an idea of having a certain lifestyle, but what exactly did it take for you to decide, I'm going after this company, something tells me that I can turn it around, I can do something, I can make it different. So if you want to just share, what were those elements that you grappled with, or you had to bring to the table, so to speak, to make this work?
I think, Peter, one of the first thing is, of course, you need to have the risk-taking ability, right? But also to spot technology trends and say there is an opportunity, right? And for me, I found most of the companies at that time, one thing they were lacking is to have a sustainable business model and take it internationally, right? To ensure that there is a good model which you really can make money out of, or build a business. So I think that was the driver. So when we look at companies, because you have been in the corporate world, you have seen how companies function. You really know what is right and wrong, and you can spot an uncut gem, and then say, look, you can take it to the next level.
So just to be a little specific, if you don't mind, so that the audience appreciates from your own anecdotal stories, what was, as you figured out, wrong with 99X? It was not called 99X at that time. What was wrong, and what did you fundamentally change to make it work?
I think what was completely wrong at that time was there were a back office operation depending on 1 or 2 clients, right? And this was, it was never a sustainable model because it was all based on cost, right? So when I took over, we changed the whole thing, and we said this is going to be the front office, this is going to be the head office, and we have to do it not based on cost, but we have to do it in operational efficiency, in quality, where you need to pay a premium, and build a very niche market for your services. So that was a dramatic change. You're buying a back office operation and trying to make it front office, and being a very focused company, and trying to make it as sustainable as possible. The only way we would have done, we did it, was to be very hyper specialization, so the customer is willing to pay you a premium for your services.
Chaminda, now Manu spoke about his approach was to make it a very niche market. It was very specific whom he was to address and so on. But reading a little about Idea Hub, you seem to have a much broader vision, and I might just share that with the audience. You speak about improving quality in all life forms on Earth. All product solutions we introduce to the world should maintain harmony in all life forms whilst providing solution to a focused problem of human society. Now, I myself was grappling with your vision statement, and it seemed fairly broad, and it seems completely in contrast to what Manu is doing, and it's very interesting that you have positioned it like this. Could you share with us what are the elements that go into making products that fulfill this vision and separates you from the wide, numbers of companies that produce applications?
Right. As I told you, in terms of the core idea is incubation and taking a product through a life cycle. And in terms of ideas, there are about 10 pending ideas which we have only realized and it started incubating about 4 ideas. When I say all life forms, I think I justified it with the current release because Sniffy tracks pets and animals and protect wildlife. You can put a beacon, GPS beacon on them, and you can put geofences around them, and you can basically check. For example, wildlife situation in Yala, only thing is you need a special beacon for an elephant, but you can actually get alerted, the wildlife people can get alerted in terms of a particular rogue elephant coming close to a fence. So in terms of it's not only for humans, it as a total ecosystem. If there is a solution, an idea which you can take to market, and if there's a considerable market segment for that, either niche or mass, that's a focus that we have. And the other thing is, in terms of my personality, which I have to grapple with in terms of getting bored with things. I have that problem. I think my problem of moving every 3 years, searching for a new challenge. So I don't have any ideas in terms of moving out of that Idea Hub until I retire. So the only way I can keep on doing it is that, keep on doing new products and have a different versions of it and different segments of it.
Okay.
So we play with different technologies, different solutions. For example, one is a product catalog, one is geosocial networking, one something like Foursquare. We have done tracking with Sniffy. Another one is a mobile wallet. So different wallet, and we create teams around those products.
Okay, so I'll come back to you because I'll go to a question. I'll go to Mani for a question, and I'll come back. I have a follow-up question from you. So Mani, if you can hear us, and I hope you do, your LeapSet company, you promised to revolutionize how restaurants interact with their end consumer. Now, I believe that a startup must definitely have a purpose, a very well-defined purpose to attract people, to make it work. What is it that you're doing, and how do you to differentiate yourself from a number of applications that may be out there to serve the restaurant industry? And how did you come upon this differentiation, and how did you think you could create a successful business model out of it?
Okay, so given the way the technology works, I'm going to speak, but I really don't know if you're hearing me or not, so I'm taking that for granted. So if I pause for a while, that's the reason. So LeapSet journey is, we're actually a fairly young company. We are about three and a half years old, but over the last 3.5 years, we've grown to a little over 250 people, roughly split half and half between Colombo and here in the U.S. And our focus is the restaurant industry and providing a technology platform for the restaurant industry. However, that's not the way we started. The original, the germ that created, the seed that created LeapSet was the following problem. If you look at companies like Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Yelp, Groupon, and I can go on and on, all these companies fundamentally do one thing and one thing alone as far as their business model goes. They're an intermediary between a buyer and a seller. Right? The actual product that they're building may be search or reviews or coupons or whatever, but the way each and every one of these companies make money is by being an intermediary between a buyer and a seller. Most of the time, that buyer is a consumer, and most of the time, that seller is a business. Now, in today's mobile-centric world, where a vast majority of people have smartphones, and it's growing even in the most underdeveloped countries, the most elegant, efficient way to reach a consumer is to build an app on their mobile phone, right? And whoever owns that mobile phone platform is in a very, very strategically important position. They're in a very enviable position. And today, frankly, it's two companies. It's Google with the Android platform and Apple with the iOS platform. Yes, there are others, but these two guys hold the majority of the market. So that's on the buyer side. What about the seller side, right? Who owns the platform on the sell side for all these businesses or small businesses? There isn't anybody. So LeapSet originally wanted to address that problem, and we looked at this and said, okay, what's the right combination of hardware and software to make us the platform that where we become the gateway between all these businesses and all these intermediaries? And we thought it was going to be point-of-sale devices. So we originally started as a point-of-sale device company, building not because we want to build a better POS product. That's an outcome. That was a result. But because we believe that if we have a better POS platform, we can do to the business market what smartphones do to the consumer market. As we evolved, we realized with our first version of the product that we can't really build a single POS system for every single business. So then we decided, okay, let's pick a vertical and start with that vertical with the full intention of going into multiple verticals. And the first vertical we picked was restaurants. The reasoning behind that was for every business that we acquire, every business where we put our point-of-sale system or our device, we wanted to acquire some multiple of consumers, and consumers interact with the restaurants more often than any other vertical. Right? Here in the U.S., on any given day, 130 million people eat in a restaurant. The average consumer eats in a restaurant 4.5 times per week. Nobody interacts as often as with the restaurant with any other vertical. You don't go to the barber shop or retail outlet or any other place as often as the restaurant. So we started with the restaurant. Once we started working with the restaurants, we started realizing that we had incredibly underestimated the amount of hand-holding, service, customer service, onboarding, training, etc. that is needed by the small business community, specifically restaurants. And that, together with a larger business transaction that we did with a company here called Cisco, drove us in the direction of saying, okay, now let's stay focused on the restaurant vertical. This all happened in a relatively short period of time because, like I said, we're still only a 3.5-year-old company. And that took us to a stage where we're saying, okay, the point of sale is actually a heart of the technology, but it's not the only piece of technology that a restaurant needs. Now, given that we had originally architected the platform behind LeapSet to go after multiple verticals, we had a little bit of luck in our technology architecture. We had the ability to now build multiple products for the restaurant industry on that same platform. So since then, we've launched 3 other products looking at restaurant reservations, managing CRM, waitlist at the host stand. We now have an entire payments platform for the restaurant industry. and we are about to launch a product where we're going to go after the discovery side of restaurants, which is the marketing vertical. And all of this is seamlessly tied together on the same platform. Now, the point that I want to make with this is, with this quick story, is that we really didn't know any of this when we started this business, right? We evolved as we moved along based on what was our competitive advantage, what are our differentiated components both internally and externally, what is the market demanding, as well as some very tactical business. I hope you guys heard me okay. Back to you.
Yes, we did. Thank you very much. That was extremely enlightening. Lakmini, a question from you. Now, Mani spoke about picking the restaurant business with a lot of data that he had. And he shared those numbers with us and why he chose that. Now, this raises an interesting question because a number of people seem to think that entrepreneurs have an intuition about what they want to do. And sometimes it's not supported by hard data. And it's a gut feel, so to speak. Is this true, at least in your case? Or is it safer to have your intuition backed with sufficient data before you embark on an entrepreneurial journey? What is your experience before you share us your thoughts? What's your experience on this?
Okay, my experience is initially, in my experience, gut feeling plays a big role. Initially, we experiment a lot, we try out things, and then many fail. When I say they fail, they are not marketable in a large scale. But then some actually start showing the promise. So this aspect actually comes when we are doing our services business. So when we do the services business, we come across customers who have various needs. We do it as a project. It's a paid project, so there's no major risk on that. But as we see some potential, we try it out. At some point down the road, we actually have to look at more data, look at the competition. We have to make it, from your title, it says make waves and stay ahead of the game. Especially for the last part, the stay ahead of the game, we need to have more than just gut feeling. Because competitors are out there, you need funding to get the branding at the right time. You might miss the boat. So actually, if you take Iron One, if I take one example, one of our products which are doing really well is Boat Pack. We've got, I would say, approximately over 2,000 board members and chairmen using it across many, many countries. And these are not just small companies. It's like Maybank, Bursa Malaysia, which is the stock exchange Malaysia. Many persons in the audience, I believe, their companies and boards are using it. Initially, it was a services project. Instantly, we had a gut feeling. We should take it forward. So it's like that. It's a phase, I think.
Okay, just to, I think we have a break coming up in a short while, and members of the audience, just bear with me for a few minutes. As soon as the break is over, I'll turn the mic over to you guys. One of the things that I read recently, and particularly by this gentleman called Daniel Eisensberg, writing in Harvard Business Review, he has a very interesting point. He says that the focus of entrepreneurship should not be on startup, but on scale up. Because he's making the point that if the purpose of entrepreneurship is to create very high value, he says the value creation will essentially come when you scale and grow your business. And he makes a very interesting analogy. He says, would you allocate more of society's resources on giving births to more children or to raising children well? So my question to you, Mano, is has your company reached the challenge? Have you reached and overcome, or are you getting there where you feel now, this is it, and I've come on this journey, I've got to make a growth now, I've got to scale up? And if so, what are the top 2 challenges that you see in scaling the business now?
Okay, Peter. As a business, first you go through this first phase of adulthood, and you need to stabilize your business, and then it has to be a sustainable business because you start making money and you grow your business. And I think for us, we have grown the businesses very well and scaled up and transformed from a small startup to a enterprise which is delivering good solutions. The challenge for us is either we get acquired or we need to acquire someone for us to take it to the next level. And then that is the part, because now we need another game changer, right? And the journey so far has worked for us. But when we look for the next 5 years, we have to do something. We cannot ride on our old wave. We have to find a new wave. We have to find a game changer, which will take us. And I think we're in the stage where we need to acquire and grow. Because organic growth, there is a limit to organic growth. And especially, we're a company, 100% of our revenue comes from global customers. And for you to go to the next level, then you seriously have to make some acquisition.
So I think we're at the halfway point of our discussion, and I will turn it over now to message from the sponsors.
LBR LBO CEO Forum.
Platinum sponsor,
Mobitel Business Solutions, accelerating your business.
silver sponsor,
AIA Insurance, the real life company. Media agency partner, Media Factory Group of Companies.
print partner,
Okay, I think we're done with the sponsor messages. Over to you folks. Just to give more opportunity for the people in the audience, I'd like you to try and keep your questions brief. If you can state your name if you like, preferably you should. And also direct your question at any particular person in the panel. That will make it easier. If not, you can throw it open and we can get some member of the panel to pick it up. So over to you. Meanwhile, can I have a little assistance from the organizers to get this going? I think the password is, I don't seem to have it with me. So I don't see the questions from the online questions. Okay. You raise your hand, I think a mic will be passed to you. Not showing much entrepreneurial spirit, I can see. Couldn't have been that bad. Mr. Manamperi, would you like to get things rolling here, please?
Peter, name is Arjuna Manamperi. Let me ask a question from the whole panel. Now, all of you are in the tech field. Now, there used to be a time I used to be in the valley as Lakmini, living there during the .com boom, right? It's a known fact that one techie guy, there are stories about a techie person going into a room, and there are fable stories where they come up, the person comes up with a product and they make lots of money. These days, people need capital, at least in the USA. When you have an idea to grow it, a lot of people have to come. What about the scenario in Sri Lanka? I mean, what about the capital for you to expand? That's the question I'm asking. Yes, please.
Actually, our company being in Sri Lanka, we have ties. I mean, we have operations in USA, but since my focus is Asia Pac, I actually looked around, I mean, even recently for funding rounds to expand certain products. Its information is not freely available. It's a little difficult. And I think more so because if you are from an IT background, we are really not geared on the finance aspects. Maybe that is something. Because even me, I mean, there's a lot of online resources and things like that, and also the angel network. Maybe the way we pitch, I mean, we are pretty confident of the products, and they're actually, you know, generating revenue. It's good business, but for the growth, as from an IT perspective, I'm saying, because my background is IT, I feel a little handicapped. Even, you know, representing a company which is in a growth phase like Iron One, and actually it's thanks to our US arm that has funding access and things like that, that you know, we are looking forward to our next growth phase, which just like what Mano said, without a growth phase, you're stagnant, you can't compete.
Mano, I'll just follow up on that question with you, and I'm going to ask this to you with your /com hat, if you don't mind. Now, /com has stated rather boldly that you want to take IT exports to $4 billion. 5 billion, okay, thank you. Even bolder than I thought. Now, the question is, clearly there is a problem, and I know this myself, that they're of funding. The banks won't do it. The large the venture capital companies, and I see some representatives here, would only touch projects of a significant size, $1 million or more, and we'll probably have clarification from one of them in the audience who's looking up at me rather sheepishly. But nevertheless, now there are lots of small companies that need like $50,000. I mean, we ourselves started a company with $30,000. But where do they go to? And is there a concerted effort on the part of /com to work with government or with other institutions to make these funds firstly available, and then obviously teach these organizations how they could actually go about getting their hand on these funds?
Okay, Peter, it's a good question, but just let me take the liberty to explain where we are as an industry. So we are almost 700 million, and our target is to reach $1 billion by 2015. I think that we will achieve. So the first phase of the IT industry growth is based on, I think, mostly services and product companies of the first wave. Now, if we are to grow and we have an ambitious plan to become a $5 billion industry by 2020, it's about 7 years from now. If we look at a 24% year-on-year growth, we will achieve this. But I think we're looking at a non-linear play, right? Now, we have grown on a linear play with the revenue, with the growth of the number of people. For us to have a non-linear play, we need to have entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurs will drive this. So one of the industry's plan is to launch 1,000 startups, right? And that is the only way we could get to that goal. Now, for this, you need to build an ecosystem which is available in the valley. So I think today I see a lot of, if you look at our universities, we are teaching them entrepreneurship. And there is an ecosystem which we are almost building, right? There's a Lanka Angel Network. Currently, as I sit on the 30th, we will have MIT from Massachusetts University. They're doing a global startup program. We're going to see 7, 8 companies pitching. So I think slowly it's happening, right? So today people can pitch. I think you pitched to one of those these things. So we are encouraging young people to come do startups, right? And make the environment available for this to happen. You know, there are a lot of things, because you need to have concentration of talent, you need to have the infrastructure. So I think we look in the next 5 years, what will grow this industry is entrepreneurship, right? Because I think all old companies are almost reaching saturation, and the jobs and the revenue will come from the new generations of companies.
So clearly you don't see the local financial institutions showing any interest in this. I mean, we are, I wouldn't say at the mercy, but we are at the goodwill or the sufficient interest we can create with angel investors who are putting in their own money to do this. Do you think we can scale to that 5 billion level? I don't see very many countries that have done this without massive government initiative all the way from education upwards. So we'll come back to that, so that we just think about it, and we'll come back to it. Anything else from the audience, please? And we urge you to ask some questions. Oh, there's one over there, please.
Hi, I'm Madhu. Actually, this is for not Mano and everybody in the panel. What I want to ask, most of you are now tech entrepreneurs. If somebody coming from non-technical background, what are the challenges that person might have in becoming a tech entrepreneur? What do you think?
Yeah. The companies that work with technology does not only recruit technology people. There are lots of other areas, other like domains that need to come in. I mean, to make the landscape ecosystem. So a guy just coding in Java is not enough. That was some time back. So you need QA, you need business analysts, you need project managers. These are also different skills which are not from technical backgrounds. They are coming from different streams. So even if you currently look at the current the landscape of existing companies, you see non-technical as well as technical people with skills blending into different types of teams to deliver products. So definitely there are enough and more opportunities. It's just that the problem is, I think, when you're coming from a non-technical background, there's a phobia saying that, oh my God, you know what this means, you know, altogether. But if you get into the simplicity of some of the things that happens in technology, that understanding is enough for you to play in that segment.
So there's a question, the SMS question, and this one is posed to you, Mani. It says, Mani, is it Silicon Valley money, fast cars, and big houses that attracted you? So while you how do you attract talent? Because in Silicon Valley, I'm sure there's a massive competition for very good talent. What is the key ingredient that you think you have at LeapSet to get some of the best minds into your company to do the kind of work that you're doing?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, those who know me personally know that I do like fast cars, but I'm not particularly attracted to big houses, and I don't really care that much for the money portion. I think it wouldn't be fair to say that somebody starting a company, you know, taking the risk of starting a company, is not attracted by some of the trappings that come with it. However, that can't be the only attraction, because especially when it comes to technology startups, and especially when it comes to doing it in a highly competitive environment like here in the US, where from day one you're competing with, you know, both established companies as well as other entrepreneurs going after the same price. You have to be driven by something other than just, you know, monetary price. I think the challenge of disrupting a market, the challenge of changing the way people live or do something today are the better drivers, and those are the things that actually give you longevity in building out your company. In our own case, we walked into a market that had, although fragmented, some very powerful incumbent companies, as well as a few startups that were very well capitalized. One of the companies that I consider is one of our competitors is Square, which is better capitalized than us by about $200 million, and run by a highly recognized entrepreneur, Jack Dorsey. But we're able to compete with them very successfully, given how we address our business, and that has to be driven by something other than money. It has to be a passion for what you're doing, and you, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, you need to figure out how to embrace that, but also create that same kind of passion within your team, leadership, and beyond. So that's I think that drives me more. But it's a good question, and I do like fast cars. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you. I think, Mani, you missed the next, my second question, but maybe we'll come back to you. Just think about it. The question was, how do you manage to attract smart people to your company when the competition is so intense in the Silicon Valley? What are the essential, the one or two key, shall I say, attributes of your company that help you to attract these people from the others? Any other question from the audience, please? Okay, Lakshmini, there's a question for you from by SMS here. It says, Lakshmini, you are very special. You're the sole woman tech entrepreneur in Sri Lanka. Why is that women don't enter technology, unlike HR, marketing, and finance?
I'm sure there's several others. So I'm probably not the sole entrepreneur in this industry, but of course the ratio is definitely, it's a smaller ratio of females. I must say it's changing though. I mean, if you take it from the point that most tech entrepreneurs have come from technology, IT, software, etc. Traditionally, software has been like a boys' sort of favorite area. But now we see the ratios even in the universities. I think it's even coming close to like between 30 to 40% females. So I think over the years you'll see a lot of difference, and just like what we were discussing, it's not just coding. There's a lot more. I mean, even marketing, even business analysis. There's a lot of soft skill areas that, in fact, our company has now recognized, and where females do it better in those areas. So there are core competency areas where you get more boys in one and more girls in the other. But I think it's changing the awareness. So
I think further she wants to add how she's controlling about 90% of the boys. Okay.
Now that you said it, it's out.
From the audience? Yes, please. Yeah, you don't have a quota today.
I have so many questions. During the Industrial Revolution, companies took, like GE, they took ages to become what they are today. In the past few decades, last 20 years or so, we have seen tech companies, ICT companies, suddenly from nothing becoming million or billion dollar companies. As I mentioned to you, I have a personal experience of living through that when it all started in the valley. In Sri Lanka, when you look for talent to create, not to create gadgets, to actually create value, business value, millions of dollars, etc., do we have the culture, or in your companies, do you have the culture to attract talent based on equity? Because Sri Lanka is not known to give even stock options to people who run companies, CEO. Traditional companies are not known to do that, which is very common in places like USA. So that was there before the Valley started. But now we are doing this tech stuff with the bootstrap budgets. I know people come, I have seen them because I used to work with them. They didn't even get salaries in the Valley those days, but they were there to go IPO or something like that and make big bucks, like money, say to buy a fast car. What do you offer to our local talents in terms to bring them in and give them a dream? Money is not the only thing, but I think it's important. I would like to hear your thoughts because that's something I have not seen here.
You guys want to just take 2 minutes each of you and talk about the stock option as an attraction? Yeah, somebody want to go first?
Okay, I think I have worked for 2 startups, MIT and Interblocks. MIT, I used to have some shares, I can't remember, but there was some, in terms of a limitation, in terms of you have to stay an amount of years to reach it. It works, not that it does not. I see that some of my former colleagues liquidated their assets and, made a lot of money during the London Stock Exchange takeover. It does make sense, and I think there are a lot of companies have done it and they're still doing it. What I see is that the younger generation, their cycles are short. I don't know why. They just can't wait for a full cycle of stock options to work. So I see a kind of a trend, which I think the companies themselves are responsible for. We are increasing the salaries tremendously, and if you look at some of the first class attraction prices in some of the top companies in Sri Lanka is about 100,000 now. So it has come to a level where if you want to attract, it becomes a kind of a standard in terms of offering a basic kind of allowance, opposed to giving stock options. But I think, as you said, I align with you in terms of getting employees and aligning them to a long-term goal is much of a better way to get that loyalty and keeping employed for a long time. But it's different. I think Mano can comment further on it.
Yeah, one of you, because we have lots of other questions coming in through SMS, so if you can quickly.
I'll be brief because I think he pretty much answered most of what I was going to say. So I think we are all in line with that. In Iron One, currently we don't have stock options. It's something we are discussing, but again, it doesn't seem to be the attraction right now. It's not the demand. That's people are looking. Yeah.
Mano, you want to quickly add what your experience is?
I think, as you say, we are evolving, right? So AJ, what's happening is people think the stock option is something far away. So they would rather want the money than the stock. But I think it's changing, right? They see valuation. I think the most important thing is transparency. Because once the employees see the valuation and you're very transparent, then they know this is the contribution I'm making. And for tech companies, for us, that is so important, right? So I think we have changed as a country and as an industry, and particularly our companies, that is no longer this command and control old structure, because we have to be agile. We are fighting in a global market. The way we manage the entire management is different, right? So, and that'll come with trust, and then people will say, yes, stock option is the same, because there is plus and minus, because you don't need to get so much of salary if you have stock option, and you're part of that value creation.
Arjuna, may I also answer that question, although I'm just a moderator? My own experience with Enable is that this makes a lot of sense to our employees, because we have positioned value creation as an end goal, so to speak. So the whole conversation at our company is all about value creation and value realization. So the numbers are all discussed in that context. So they can see what they invest today. We make a promise of a 8 or 10 or 12x return. So they can quickly work the numbers and say $1,000 today would be 10 or 12,000. And here are the metrics that will drive that kind of valuation. You're with me? So for companies like us then, when you say value creation, they'll say, am I part of the value realization? Then it makes sense. And we are very strongly engaged in creating a very simple, transparent equity participation of employees, combination of free shares and discounted shares. And I think that's serving as a great motivator, at least among the senior leadership. Yeah. Mani, I think you're ready to answer that question, so please fire away.
And I apologize for the delay in the audio. I think stock options are an incredibly powerful tool to align the interests of the overall company and the shareholders as well as the employees. We at LeapSet offer stock options to every single employee, and we're in a little bit of a unique situation because we have about roughly 120 employees in the US and another 120 or so employees in Sri Lanka. And we run a very flat organization, so the reporting structure is intertwined. There are just as many folks in the US reporting to managers in Sri Lanka as the other way around. And everybody is issued a stock option. Now, what we have found is that our employees in the US understand how to value the stock option versus the same situation in Sri Lanka. Now, we've made a conscious decision that even though that is the case, that we are still going to issue stock options to everybody. What we're finding in Sri Lanka, though, is that we need to, we still need to provide very competitive other forms of compensation, including cash compensation, to stay competitive in the market. So I do find stock options very powerful, but I think there's going to be a little bit of time before the average tech employee in Sri Lanka understands truly how to value that. I want to add one other point here. These both stock options and cash, this is monetary incentives. I think the incentive, especially when you're building a startup, the drive that you get from being able to build a product that you believe is disruptive, seeing that in the market, and being able to have the pride of being able to say, I am competing with all these other both multinational and startups with the product that I helped to build is I believe is the most powerful driver and the thing that we should try to focus on, especially if you're a product company.
We have a few questions by SMS. Please feel free to pick one. Chaminder, there's a question for you. How do you find seed capital to start a new business, taking the risk while other essentials are ready?
Interesting question. I've not taken capital from others up to now. I have burned my own savings and of my partners.
Brave man.
So they say you become an example before you invite another person to burn their cash. So, but definitely I think it's that investor, and there are a lot of gentlemen representing those institutions in the forum. They need to see a product grow to a particular stage. And for example, I think a few years back they were saying, when I was doing Gluon, 3 years back, they say you get traction, let's say you get 100 customers a week and show me the traction. There were some discussions like that. So I think they want to see whether the idea that you have, an initial model that you implemented, and if you put into the market, is there traction in that? And that actually gives the confidence to the investor to invest. But without doing that, I think relating to an earlier question, there for the younger generation, there's a set of angel investors and other institutions, and together with SLASCOM, there's a lot of initiatives which gives around seeding money for interesting ideas, even without seeing them realizing that idea, just to get them a small team together and develop a product for 6 to 8 months. So that seed money is available now, but you have to pitch to these angel investors and get that. So I think that's the current context.
Manu, if you'd like to take this question. India being a prime player in the tech industry and having a number of info parks, how does it affect entrepreneurs from our nation? I believe IT entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka. India being a prime player, how does, and with all the facilities they have and all that, how does it affect entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka?
I don't think it affects entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka because entrepreneurship is about competition, right? So I think Sri Lanka has a unique story. And the Sri Lankan entrepreneurs, especially in the tech sector, have come of age, right? I mean, we have the first company listed, right? We have 2 companies at least listed in the stock exchange overseas. So I think I don't think there's a comparison, but what is fundamentally important is that we see within the industry there's a massive surge of entrepreneurs, right? So I think we go to the second where we see there is, I mean, you look at Chaminda, I mean, he started after a very successful career. So people wanting to become entrepreneurs in the tech savvy is to follow a passion or to make things different. So like I myself, I mean, for us, it's fantastic to be in Sri Lanka and to build a global company, right? I mean, that drives you, your people and everything to say that, yes, we are competing. I mean, for us as a company, we compete in Europe, and we have to compete with like-minded companies who are very, very good in what they do. And all our customers are international. So I think it gives you that passion to become what you are. And today, I don't think, as we say, the world is flat. The opportunity is all over the place. So it doesn't mean wherever you are, you could really still build a market.
Okay. Lakmini, there's a question for you. Lakmini, do you agree with the Pepsi boss that women can't have it all? And I think just in case you misunderstand the question, I think the question, the allusion is to the recent speech that she made where she said, you know, going home and running the family and keeping a husband and the mother-in-law and all of them, because she went home and they said there's no milk in the house. And she had to go and get the milk. So, the mother, right? Yeah, the mother said that. So, what do you think? Women can't have it all when they're holding entrepreneurial positions, or you disagree?
Okay, when you're an entrepreneur, actually a lot of time and commitment is required. So this is an ongoing subject. I actually was in a forum some time ago as well about this topic itself, about women and working women. If you take the West, I think things are changing. The men's roles, the women's roles, it's kind of sort of equal home responsibility situation is happening. In Sri Lanka, it's happening a little, but what I hear from my friends and etc. is that it's not as advanced as in the West. So again, the trend is going towards it. There's a lot of discussion. I see a lot of discussion on that. So answer is currently it is tougher because your family responsibilities are higher than a man's as a woman. So it is tougher, definitely. But I think it's going towards the right direction now. As I hear.
You think there are more men washing plates? And and cooking dinner and
The word is more, yes.
and
The word
picking
is
up the
more.
underwear and socks and all of that. You
The
think so?
speed at which it's happening may not be in a fast pace, but
I think, Peter, it works. You shouldn't let your husband become an entrepreneur.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. If you can
should?
stop him becoming one, then it's okay. I think.
Okay, right. Any other questions, just in case some of you are now a little inspired to ask a question? I think we have another 15 minutes to go. There's a question for you, Mani, and it's an interesting one. Mani, where will the competition come from? How can you prepare for disruptive, unforeseen competition? Is there anyone who can confirm whether Mani is going to answer that question? Is there someone who can let us know? Can you send him a text or Skype? Okay. Why don't you let us know if you can get a text from Mani saying that he's ready to answer the question, then we'll be happy to, because I don't want the audience to, he's ready? Move on. Okay. Two sets of questions, folks here. One is about leadership and the other one is about attracting people. I asked that question from Mani, but unfortunately he has not picked it up. How easy or difficult it is, and I'm sure it's more difficult, is it to attract people? And does culture of your company play a part in attracting? If so, what is the unique culture that you're fostering in your organizations that you think will help you to attract these smart people?
Sorry, I think Mani is ready to take that question. Can we? Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to speak. Chamila, if I should stop speaking, just text me. The question that I'm going to answer, I'm not sure if this is the right question given the delay, is related to competition and where competition is coming from. I'll address that first. I see in the text comments there's a second question related to how to attract top talent, so I'll do that as well, and I'll do it quickly. The first question related to competition, we look at competition both from the standpoint of where the competition is today as well as the standpoint of where we believe we're going to get the competition in the future. Today we're mostly focused on incumbent technology companies, the larger technology companies that provide products to the restaurant industry. This today, the way we differentiate ourselves is by providing a platform with multiple products sitting on the platform. Most of the incumbents, OpenTable provides reservations, Yelp provides a discovery service, Micros, Aloha provides a point-of-sale service. There are several companies that provide inventory management services, etc. but they are focused on a specific product. So as a restaurant operator, you now need to work with multiple vendors for the multiple product categories. If you were to work with LeapSet, you have the ability to have an integrated solution, and that is primarily how we're competing today. However, looking a little bit into the future, we do see these exact companies as well as other newer companies building their own platform products. Some of them are growing via acquisition to add products to their platform. So at that point, we need to differentiate in a different way, and we're taking both a technical perspective as well as a sales perspective. On the technical side, we've established a team in Sri Lanka that is able to grow rapidly and produce development firepower at a pace faster than if we were to recruit all of those engineers here in Silicon Valley. And that goes directly to attracting talent, which is the next question that I'll answer. On the sales side, we have an exclusive relationship with a company called Cisco, which is the largest distributor of supplies to the restaurant industry. And this gives us access to almost half the independent restaurant market here in the U.S., and that puts us in a very strong position from a sales perspective. The second piece, how to attract top talent. I think this is probably one of the largest challenges that any entrepreneur faces in growing their company. And you have to have the talent. The founding team needs to have the talent and the capability to get your message across, to bring people over. Because the folks that you're going to hire, especially the really high-end, executives, engineers, the really talented guys, the very smart guys, they have lots of options, and they're leaving probably a very lucrative or interesting position to join you. So they need to be able to share in your passion, and you have to be very good at getting your story across and convincing them to join you in your journey. And that's a talent that is required to attract other talent. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you, Mani. So coming back to our question, folks, culture, and if it's something else, I'd like you to share that.
Okay. In our industry, there's a saying, if you win the battle for talent, you will win the war in the marketplace. So it is so fundamental in tech industry to attract the top talent. What is more challenging is you need to attract guys who are much more smarter than you. So how do you attract guys who are smarter than you to work for you? And I think it starts with the leadership, right? That they have to see that this company has a vision, and it has a passion, and it has a culture that they can come and behave like entrepreneurs and push their passion and take that also along with them. So I think you need to create an environment which these smart people, who are some of them will be smarter than you, who are able to come and say they're able to do things as if they own the company, right? And that you have to have a unique culture. So there are a few things I could share. This is one, all these techies, right? They need to have their space. They want to be challenged, and they want to challenge things, and in a culture of openness, so transparency, and that they have the ability to excel what they have to do. But fundamentally, what is really important is trust and credibility of its management and leadership. Because if you don't have that, right, then I don't think you can build a great company. And we have gone through this journey. I mean, for twice in 2 consecutive years. We were voted as a great place to work in Sri Lanka among the top 15 companies. And then I see this over and over again. If you have the right talent, and have talent who is guys who are smarter than you, you're very easy to achieve those goals.
Yes, talking from Iron One perspective, as we are pretty much going into niche areas now. So it's not the numbers anymore. There used to be a time, but it's now pretty much a selected smaller number of people that we are recruiting, and very specialized. So as Manu mentioned, we're all competing with each other to get the brains, so to say. And when they come in, they're pretty raw actually in terms of many aspects. So it's what happens after. So how you nurture them. So we take a lot of care in that. I believe most of the top 10 tech companies are doing that. And as I mentioned, I'm sort of stressing on the niche aspect because Sri Lanka doesn't have thousands of people. So we all have to get into niche areas.
Okay. In terms of giving the best salary is not the formula for me because in terms of the value generation, we have not reached there. So what I do in terms of the first thing is, for example, if it is the package that becomes a kind of issue in terms of recruitment, I don't look into that recruitment because that motivation is driven through salary. But however, in terms of to be reasonable for whatever value generation we do, what we do is we do quarterly bonuses. Actually for the last 2 years, I've been able to do quarterly bonuses. Though the salary levels would have been lower, but I have somehow compensated it through bonuses, very frequent bonuses. But other than that, like Mano described it, it's the culture. If you look at my development team, they are in their shorts, casual, they are connected. There's one person working from Australia who's doing a master's and he's queuing my stuff from Australia. There's a lot of trust and they work from home. They come to office. They are from different places in Sri Lanka. And we, for example, we have a bit of a dormitory. There are some people who sleeps and codes in the night. It's a kind of a different mentality and a kind of a culture that I have created just to make sure that we can incubate, because the incubation is a different game than when you get into the growth cycle. So it's a culture, and it's a culture that they join and they embrace, and you have to take them through the internship and the first 6 months to somehow make them part of the culture.
Thank you, Chaminder. And my last question is about leadership, because it's important that as you grow, or let me put it another way, because I'll change it a little. Ideas, because the only way that a can survive or grow is the rate at which you can produce new ideas, innovation. How do each of you, and try to keep it a little brief if you don't mind, please, how do you do this? How do you nurture, or what is the model that you have to generate ideas and to see them to execution? What is your innovation model? You want to start first, Chaminda, and then we come back here, and then, yeah. Or do all the ideas come from you?
Okay. What we do is, actually we went a little bit crazy when you started, because I have a set of unofficial gang which is in Sri Lanka as well as in other countries, which we have set of sessions that we go on in terms of, we call them evangelists, and there are lots of interaction in terms of, there's different stuff that's happening in US and in other countries, and in terms of alignment to that, and some of the niches that we find, and there's these friends of mine who are like evangelists, and they're not paid, it's just that out of passion they do it. So we have actually idea dashboard at Idea Hub. Only thing is, we started doing about 4 ideas, and it came to a situation that you can't focus more than 2 ideas a year. So we generate it, we backlog it, and we prioritize it. And what we have done is, we have said, we don't have the manpower to do more than 2. So we have actually kept at 2 ideas per year. Now actually we released 1 idea sniffy this year, and we are on the next one halfway through to release by end of the year. So it's a cycle of generation and prioritization. You have to prioritize, otherwise you will come up with nice, neat ideas, but will not generate revenue. It's just something that you try to do. So you have to filter it. So we have a funnel that we filter.
Okay. Lakmini, how do you do this?
So at Iron One, innovation it happens in two areas. One is technology. The teams have quite a lot of flexibility in the technology innovation area because productivity increase is the goal, and pretty much they have complete flexibility on that. When it comes to products itself, now we've gone into certain niche areas. We are competing with global players now. So what happens is the business units and the technology units are sort of getting together. They analyze these, they come up with theories. So it's not really like a whiteboard, so to say, but there are some focus areas now for the business angle. But whereas technology, they can adopt it as long as it makes business sense. Because sometimes there can be new technology, it can disrupt everything. So there's a sort of a balance there. So in short, that's how it is.
Manu, how do you do this?
We do it with our customers, and we have an ecosystem with universities. So we supervise about 18 or 20 research projects with universities. And what we tell our customers, and then we have a group which works very closely with the customers, and on one side with the research project within universities. And then we will try to spot technology trends and what burning problems we need to solve when we look at our customers and what they need to do, and then make projects out of this. And out of that, probably you have 20% success in which will really make into either business, into innovation project. But what is fundamentally important for an innovation culture is you need to have a culture where everything is challenged, right? And then that is fundamentally important. You need to challenge everything what you do. And once you start challenging, then you would say, yes, there is room for improvement, and then there is room for breakthrough innovation.
You're a very strong-minded person, Manu. Do you honestly open yourself out to challenge in your company?
Peter, it is amazing, right? For me, leadership is not about one-man show, right? Because what you realize in the tech industry is you need to have leaders without title, and you need to have such a flat organization that you will find when you empower people, the amount of amazing things they will come out to. I think I look at myself as a cheerleader, right? And then that is the role of a leader, right? You have to be a cheerleader, but the guys who will really go there and do it are the guys whom you have in your board.
Okay, right. I think time's up, and just before we close proceedings here, is there any last question from the audience? Yes, thank you very much. A mic over here in the front row, please. I was wondering why you were so silent all this while.
I was listening, Peter. Well, my question is directed to Manu. We have an ambition, or the country and the BPO industry has an ambition to be a $5 billion industry. That is very good. Okay, how do we get there? We need to breed more entrepreneurs. There are people in this country who want to get there. I have been involved in the university system. Unfortunately, the secretary ran away before I thought of asking a question. Now, we do not breed entrepreneurs in our education system. I go often to address the final year students, and one of the questions I ask is, how many of you are interested in getting a job in our companies? 90% of the hands go up. Then I ask them, how many of you want to start companies and be job givers, not job seekers? 1, 2, 3 raise their hand. I talk to them and they say, okay, we are going to be educated, we get the degree because my father wanted me to have a degree, but I am going to work in his hardware store or something like that, continuing the family business. Now you guys are smart, you are not in the family business, but you have started with a silver spoon in your mouth with capital. What is lacking in this country is venture capital. Now, two of you, Chaminda and Peter, you mentioned about angel investors. I think that's new to most of our people. other than my good friend here. We are the two people who usually ask questions. Today I was silent. Okay, we need to breed angel investors in this country. I have also been an angel investor living in the USA. We go for presentations. Young guys, either from the university or not in the university, they come up with ideas, make a presentation, and then what they require is $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. One of the people will say, okay, I'll give you the $10,000. Like that, we need to create this culture. And another thing is, now you guys are big in the industry. How many of your people have broken away from your industry, gone out there, stuck their neck out, and become your competitor? That's what we must encourage.
I like to answer this. Today, I just said in my opening remarks, I don't know whether you were here or not, there is a ecosystem which is being just developed. There's an angel network in Sri Lanka. We funded more than 100 million rupees last year on young entrepreneurs, not only in tech industry. And as you speak, there is a MIT program happening with university students. So I think slowly things are happening. I'm not saying what it should be, but I think, as I said, the only way we can take this industry forward, or country forward, is to build entrepreneurship, right? And that is given, because we need to disrupt all models. Your growth, you're not going to have growth in your tea industry year on year 25%. You have no chance in any of your traditional industries. And it's also the new entrepreneurs will come with new models, and that is where even the job creation will happen, right? So I think it is not only our industry, I think the whole country, right? We need to nurture entrepreneurs and build an ecosystem. To be honest, and I was telling Peter this thing, when we started, we didn't have any of this. Today, if someone wants to pitch, there are means and means to come and pitch for angel network or angel investors, or there are investors who are willing to look. It's much better than it was, 15 to 20 years ago.
I think one part of the question, Mano, was about the education system itself. I know it's a very broad question, but today in the universities we have military training, but not entrepreneurial training. Is there something wrong here? What do you think? Because clearly the education system, at least at the university level, must open their minds out to challenge and to take on new ideas and all of that. What do you think? Do you think the education system is producing smart people?
I'll put my teaching hat in terms of what I do as a hobby. So I'm very much in love with undergraduates and master students. What you see is that in the last 2-3 years, definitely there are smart people, but in terms of the ability to take a risk, because if you look at it, if you're smart enough, any one of those big companies that are out there will attract you at a very high salary. Foregoing that, going on your own, okay, finding some seed money with a lot of difficulty and getting into the market is something that university students are very afraid of, and especially when they go and talk to their parents, they will say, "You are crazy, don't do that," and they basically say, ask the lecturer to put some sense into them. So, but I see there's a particular set of students who have started a company now as their internship. So they have not joined the company. They have started.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chaminda, but what if we as a body start something like technology entrepreneurship, which is selected as electives in American and other universities, correct? Tisa, Arjuna, and the others here. So, shouldn't we do something like that? Teach technology entrepreneurship as an elective.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's as an elective or non-credit subject sort of available now. But there are all the universities, as I know, they do get parties from outside, from the industry, to conduct soft skills courses, but they are not mandatory. But I see there are a lot of students who are having interest. But only thing is, in terms of justifying, there aren't that many examples or success stories of something like what you get in US, like Zuckerberg, dropped out of campus and, started Facebook. We have to have more success stories, and it has to start somewhere, and this generation has to do it.
You want? Why don't I, in the interest of time, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to ask you to sum up. So, so thank you very much, all of you. But before we wind up, I would like each of you, and we start with you, Mano, and end with you, Chaminda, very quickly, your final thoughts on making a bet, making waves, and staying ahead. Your 1 minute final pitch, please.
Okay. Entrepreneurship is all about taking risk and then following your passion, right? So that is, for me, that is very fundamental. If you want to be an entrepreneur, there are two great ingredients, that you need to take a risk and then follow your dream and make it happen.
Thank you, Mano. Lakmini?
Thank you, Peter. So, as you mentioned, entrepreneurship actually is risk. So, one thing I wanted to mention is, as you come out of university, it's a huge risk because you don't really know what the industry is. So, therefore, after a few years of experience, I think really you'll be a lot more equipped to know what you're getting into. So that's something I will encourage. The risk is more calculated. So that's what I'd like to say in this short pitch.
Chaminda, your final concluding thoughts.
I think it's in simplicity. It's if you're a person who takes risks. I mean, you have to evaluate yourself, and if you have the urge to do something on your own, and without delaying it, doing it early is much more better than doing it later, because it's as human beings, psychologically we don't like to take risks as we grow older. Not that the panel is old altogether, but however, do it early, take the risk, and listen to your gut to start. And after that, I think there's a lot of rational thought that has to come in terms of getting your funds, your finances, and the product right. And in terms of Sri Lanka, I think the biggest problem is developing products is that we have the buffet culture. Like, we go to a buffet and eat everything possible. And we don't know how to focus on the core features of a product and enlarge from there. Now, for example, Facebook is just a picture and you tag and friends comment about it. And all the frills in the last 6-7 years came up around that. But I think when you start, which myself did a lot of mistakes in terms of trying to put everything together without focusing on the core. So I think if you have to go for it, if you have an idea, and if you feel like it, and if you have a set of friends and a community supporting you, go ahead and take the risk.
Okay, so thank you all for being with us this evening at the 56th session of the LBO LBR. I think you can already hear the prawns sizzling in the background. So it must be whetting your appetites a little more than it did to ask questions. So thank you for all of you, and my fellow panelists here, thank you very much. That was a great contribution. I hope you have collectively made more people out there look at entrepreneurship and startups as a possible career for them rather than go and work in another company. So thank you all. Thank you very much. And I hand it over to you, Farah, for your final comments. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Peter and the panel. Really appreciate it. I would like to call for a special message from our platinum sponsor, Mobitel.
Mobitel Business Solutions offers a spectrum of services to improve the efficiency and accuracy of your business operations. With tracking, business automation, messaging, customer contact, and advertising solutions for corporates and businesses, Mobitel Business Solutions is geared to accelerate your business performance.
Do you know where your fleet is? Are you convinced that your company vehicles are being productive? If you're tired of losing track of your company vehicles, M-Track is the answer.
Staff fuel allowances are a must for any company with field operatives, but the paperwork and procedures consume both time and money. With Mobitel One Fuel Card, managing staff fuel allowance is a breeze.
Are missed calls and opportunities eating into your bottom line? It's a waste to lose out on potential profits. No more missed opportunities with our 24-hour M-Call Center solution. Are you tired of carrying all your cards, chits, forms and receipts with you? Not to mention the hassle of replacing them when you lose them. The Mobitel iCard acts as your corporate ID, allowance card, access control card, and attendance monitoring card. With Mobitel iCard, all you need is one card.
Connecting you to a world of opportunities with a wide array of customized business solutions, Mobitel is ready to enable you to reach your maximum business potential. Contact our solutions consultants now. Mobitel Business Solutions, accelerating your business.
All right, and now closing this 56th LBO LBR CEO Forum powered by Mobitel. While I want to thank Chaminda, Lakmini, Mano and Peter for being an excellent panel. Thank you so much. And Mani as well, yes. And now, as Peter said, the prawns are sizzling at the back, so I would like to invite all of you all to join us for fellowship and cocktails. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
LBR LBO CEO Forum.
Platinum sponsor.
The happiness of coverage. The happiness of connectivity.